So I had a question about the progress report. So I turned it in, as you've seen, but are we supposed to be able to store those values as they go in, or just give an output of the new value?
Say again, what is it?
Are they supposed to, so like if you make a deposit, is it supposed to hold that value? Yeah.
So would you mind if I open the work and I correct it from this?
No? I don't know if you corrected it or not.
Okay. Okay, so anyway, let me open the homework here. So I can show you what is our problem here. I don't know which one is due, but anyway, let me open one by one here. Okay.
That's not mine.
So do you want me to open your work and correct it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So because I don't see the problem.
Okay. Some of you don't want, so I just want to ask. Can you move your phone?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, here's your work, right?
Yeah. And then it goes off into Robert Brown's account.
So what is it? What is the meaning of this one?
I declared Robert Brown, or R Brown, as the username for Robert Brown. Because I know that we're going to end up with more than one user.
Honestly, for this one, I don't want to create it. I said to you guys that you have for this homework here, you have to break it down into multiple modules. So for me, to easier to follow. If you look on this work here, it's very hard for someone or even you to follow what is going on here. It's very, very complicated, and it's, you see, you have a lot of work on this one. So I suggest you on the class already that you should break it down in the module here. So you break it down into deposit, you break it down into withdrawal, or you break it down into the transfer here. It for me and even for you, it's very hard to follow what is going on with your coding here. Right? It's very hard. Okay. Now you just stop at this one. You know that for this one, you need to verify the password and you need to verify the username, right? So is that make it simple? You asking you that what is your username and what is password, and you compare the username with our brow here, and you compare the password with blue 123 here. Right? That's all. So when he already enters the correct username and password, you go on with the selection here, right? So you can asking him that what is your action you want to do? Deposit. If it's deposit, you go to the submodule deposit here. If it's withdraw, you go with the submodule withdraw here, and if it's a transfer, you go with the submodule transfer here. To let it way easier for the user, for the programmer, for the other to follow with the coding here. For this one, it's very hard for you and for me to follow what is going on here. Anyway, let me go back to other one. Let me, I think you can learn it from the other one here. Okay, so the thing about this one, you only have one user. Don't think about you don't think about the final project yet. You just think about right now, you have only one user, right? And for he has the saving account 2,500 and he has the checking is a 35 here. I like this work because you only have one user, right? And you have to initialize the saving and checking account at the beginning, and he verify, enters the username, and he compares the username. He enters the password and he compares the password here. It works, right? But for now, it's okay for me. For now, it's okay for me. But if you think about if you're working with the final project, this one is not enough yet. So we see what happened if I enter the username by the number here. What happened? Not compare the number with the string
program
here, right?
will crash.
Yes. So for that reason, for right now, it's okay for me. But for the final project, you have to make sure that the username, the user enter here, it must be in the string format here. Right? So you only able to compare string format with a brown here, and you're able to compare the password with the blue 1, 2, 3 here, because you have to make sure he enters the username and password in the string format. And you know that in order to do that, you can use the eString function here, right? You know that, right? You know that?
Yeah.
Or you can make it simple here. You can make some more eString here. eString username here. And that's all, right? So now you see eString here. All right. So now what happened if I enter here number here? Asking you enter again. Right? So actually for better that you have to tell him that he have to enter the correct answer. Sorry, you have to enter the correct format of the username and something like that. Right? You can do the same. You can do the same with the user password here, but right now I'm okay with that. So this one, welcome here. Right? So enter the 1 for deposit, 2 for withdrawal, 3 for balance inquiries, the 4 for something like that, right? So now he break it down into the selection here. This one is selection, right? And actually for this one, it's method selection. You break it down into multiple selection here. And again, for this one, what happened if we enter the number here or character here for the menu? The program got crashed also, right? Because you cannot compare string or character with the number here, right? So in the final project, you have to make sure that you have to anticipate all of the possibilities that the program might got crashed here. Now let me enter again for you so you see what is going on here. Okay, so now what happened if I enter something is not in the number here? You got crashed again. Right? So we have to make sure if you're working on this way, you have to make sure that the user here had to enter everything in the number format, and it might be 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5 only. So what happened if you enter the number 6 here? What happened? Nothing. What's the number 6? Yes. So for this one, if he enters the number 6, he will go to the what is it? Transfer here, whatever it is. And for this one also, it's not a good program. I prefer use that. This one is complicated program, so you should break it down in the submodule here. So you should break it down in the submodule here. So what is it? All right, so now break it down. It's number 5, lock out, right? Number 1 is deposit, working with the deposit here. He asking that you want to working with the saving or checking here, right? So again, you have to make sure if you enter the number 1, it must be the number format here, right? And if number 1, you're working with saving, and number not number 1, that means number 2 here, you're working with checking here, right? So for this one here, what happened if enter the deposit is a negative number? Or what happened if enter the deposit is not the number here? You also have to anticipate all of the thing for this one. So you have to make sure that you have to check whenever the user enters the deposit, you have to check that he enters the integer number, he enters the positive integer number here. And you know that you have to use the combination of each number, the floor function, and compare it greater than 0 or not. You have to do something like that. But for this one here, for me, I think it would be better if you break it down into the submodule here. It's very hard for me or even for you to follow with the program here. You see, it's very complicated. So it should be better if you look at the main here, you should have someone here. You have the call function here. You do something like that. So you have the first thing you can make it authentication here. Right? Okay, so everything about authentication, you just copy it here. Right? And this one, username and password here. Right? Put it here. So that is everything about authentication. So when you're done with authentication, you come back to the main module here. In the main module, you have everything about the selection here, or is now I have to delete this one. This authentication, right? I have to delete this one. Okay, now welcome and deposit. So for this one, I think you should have one more function, one more module here is the deposit, one more module here is a withdraw, and one more module here is for the transfer here, right? So you think you should have one function here. If it's the main module, you do everything here. It's a deposit. Okay, and you know that you come back to this one, cut it here, and paste it to the deposit here. Okay, and this one is withdraw, right? And the balance checking you don't have because it only have one printf here, so you don't have to break it down into submodule. But for the withdraw here, we have a withdraw here, so I think it should be better to have a withdraw here. Got everything here. Sorry, I need one more. Where? This one should be transfer, right? Yeah. And you go to this. Why? I deleted it already. Okay. So now, if you look at the main module, it's way easier for you to follow up, right? You have something at the beginning. Now you have to authentication, and when we work in the authentication, you break it down into multiple selection here. So if he transfer one, you know that you have to go to the deposit. He choose number 2, you know that you go to the withdraw, and he choose number 3. Number 4, you go with transfer here, right? So if you look on this one, it's way easier for you to follow up. And that is the benefit of the modular structure here. And if you remember about the one of the benefit of modular structure, it is, let me show you what is it. What? Not this one. Okay. So one of the benefit of the modular structure program here is that easier to read, right? Easier to read and easier to design code and test program for one module at a time. And if you look on the program here, you see it is way more simpler when we compare to the original one here. Right? So when we look on this one, you know what's going on with the program here. So we know that you need the authentication. After that, you need to choose some of the option here. And if you choose number one, go to deposit, and you see what is the deposit. That's all, right? So what number two here, you know that you go with withdraw. So what is withdraw here? You do this one, right? And what is number three? Number four, you have to transfer here. That is the benefit when working with the modular structure here. It helps you easier for you to follow the coding, and for the thing about the other one who want to follow the coding, it's way easier to follow with the program here. Okay, so now come back to this one. Again, you have to remember that in the final project, you have to anticipate all of the possible error here. What happened if you enter the number? What happened if you enter the something is not in string here? Right? So for the deposit also, if you enter the number one and number two, what happened if you enter number five? Or what happened if you enter the character A or something like that? Right? And for this one, you see, so both of the time, you see, when working with the saving and when working the checking, you have to enter the deposit here. Right? So I think it should be better if you just do it one time only. That we do it here. You do it here. It's a pre-enter the amount you want to deposit here. You want to deposit here. Okay, so instead of that, you just need to do it one time outside of the selection here. That's all. So it depends if you're working with working with saving, add it to the saving here, and you're working with the checking, add it to the checking here. Right? And remember that in the final project, even now, you have to make sure that the deposit here is a number, and the deposit here is a positive integer number here. Right? What happened if you enter the deposit with the character here? Or what happened if I enter the deposit with negative number here? It will not make sense for this program, right? And one of the thing about this program here is not good. If you look on the output here, what do you think? What's wrong with this one? Actually, it's not good with this one here. What do you think? Any comment for that? What do you think? I don't like about this output here.
Wouldn't you have to assign the new total to savings plus deposit, and then put new total will be new total? Something like that?
Yes. The output is correct, but what happened, right? You see that if you come back to this one, right? At the beginning, you have the saving at 2,500 here, right? So what happened if I deposit 100 here? What happened here? What is the output here? What's the output?
It'd be 25 and then plus 100, but it wouldn't show you those combined.
And 26, right?
Yeah.
That's here. So you see the output is here correct, but it's a huge problem with the program here. So when you print it out here, so actually the saving keeps the same. The saving here still be the 2,500 here. You got my point?
Yeah.
You don't change anything with the saving here. So you don't change anything with saving here. So saving here is still the 2,500. Even that you already deposit for 100 here. So what happens if next time you want to withdraw something? You see, you check it again. The saving here is still be the 2,500. It's not good. Right? Yeah. So in order to do that, you have to update here. You have to update the new deposit here. Right? So it's a new saving here. You have the saving here. And you have saving S, right? And the saving plus the saving plus the deposit here. Okay. And now you just print out the saving here. Okay, so we see that if you deposit 100, the new saving is now 2,500, 2,600, right? And the next time, if you do anything with the deposit or withdraw and transfer, it updates with the new shaping here instead of keep the old shaping is 2500 here. It makes sense?
Yeah, so that does store the value.
That's right. The output for this one is correct, but actually the principle of that is not correct. Right? You see that this one is checking here, and even that now, if you print out the checking, it still keeps the old checking here. It's not updated yet. So again, you also have to do this one here. Right? You also have to update this one here. Okay, so now I think the deposit here is okay, right? Now you have to withdraw here. Again, you have to verify you enter everything is a number format and in everything is a 1 or 2 here only, right? Okay, so again, for this one, you only need to do it one time. You only want to withdraw, that's all, right? I'm going to want to withdraw here. Okay, and make sure that the withdraw here, you also have to check it the integer and positive number, right? So here now we withdraw, right? So in the case withdraw, you cannot withdraw more than what you have, right? So after he minus withdraw, he checking here if the withdraw greater than 0 here. So the new shaping here greater than 0, that means it's okay, right? It's updated here, right? Updated here, but not you cannot withdraw, and he just add it up, go to back here, right? It's good here. But this one is good also. Okay, this one is the withdraw. And how about the transfer? The transfer also, right? So we just need to do it one more time outside here. You don't need to do it here, right? So again, if you want to selection here, you have to make sure that he enters the number format, and is the number here is only one or two only, cannot be 3 or 4, 5, 6 here. Okay, so the transfer also, right? If you transfer from the shaping to the checking here, you have to minus the transfer from the shaping and you add it to the checking. It's good, right? You do the good here. So what happened here? Here asking that if shaping or checking greater than 0 here, what happened to this one? What happened to this one? It's not correct. So let me show you what is not correct here. So think about this one. You at the beginning, let me open the new one here. Okay, so at the beginning you have the shaping 2500 here, right? And the checking here is 53 here. Now I want to transfer. 3,000. I want to transfer 3,000 from shaping to the checking here. So what happened? If I transfer 3,000 here, the new shaping will be negative 500 here, right? Negative 500 here. You know that is negative 500 here. And what is the new checking here? What do you think? What's the new checking?
Be 5,500.
No, this one is a shaping here, right?
Yeah.
This one is shaping, and you want to transfer for this one from the shaping to the checking here. All right. So after transfer 3,000 from the shaping, now shaping only have the negative 500, right? And what is checking now? What is the new checking now?
Oh, 3,035.
Yeah, 3,035. Okay, so now we see. Now the shaping here is negative 500, and the checking here is 3,035, right? So we come back to the condition here. What is it? Oh no, this one. You come back to condition here. Shaping greater than 0 not, right? Checking greater than 0 not, yes. And when you use all here is not correct. All here, that means that when we're checking here already the greater than 0, so it's still going well with this one. It's not good with this one, right? You got my point? Shaping here is a 4. Shaping here cannot be 0 because the shaping here, you see the shaping here is a negative 100. It's a 4. But the checking here is 2 because it's greater than 0. And you know that 4 or 2, when you add them together, the output here is 2. That means this one is still going through here, right? And actually in the real life, you cannot transfer for more than what you have for this one here. All right, so the condition here is not correct. The condition here is not correct here. All right. So if you want to do that, you have to use the ending here. You have to use the and here.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
Yes, you have to use the and here, or you can check it from here also. It's up to you. It's up to you. It's up to you. Okay, so basically for this one, you have something you have to remember for this one, right? The first thing is that you should break it down in the modular structure here. So the user, it's easier for you to follow up what is going on with this one here. Right? The second one, you have to, in the final project, you have to make sure that you have to anticipate all of the possible syntax error here. So what happens if you enter the incorrect format here? Okay? Any question for this one? No, right?
I'm okay.
I'm good.
Okay. Now I move to the second one here. This one is not good at all. This one is not good at all because you see, I have to tell you again that one of the benefits of the modular structure that you have to understand what is going on if you look on the main module here. So if you look on the main module here, I don't know what happening here. I just know is this one working with the username and password verification here. So I have to go to the username and password application. So in the username and password application here, what again? You have to call the account detail here. So again, I have to go to this one. I have to keep guessing what is going on with the program here. It's not good programming at all. It's very hard for someone to follow up with the program here. You got my point?
Yes.
And this one in the code is the case of the coding, they call it is recursive programming here, because in the submodule, you call another submodule, and in the submodule here, again, you call another submodule here. So actually, if you're working with this one, it slows down the process of the program here. It very slow down the process of the program here. And you see, if you want to run this one in the compile here, I want to run it at one time only. I want to compile it and run it here. It's not able to run this because you have to use a lot of recursive program here. You call submodule from the submodule here. So for this one, try to make it simple. Please don't use too many submodule here, and please try not to call the submodule from the submodule here. All right. So for this one, you have to think about, if you look on, let me show you what is it. All right. Okay, so try to working with the hierarchy chart here. So we have to think about in the main module, what is submodule in the main module here. Right? So we try to make it the hierarchy chart here, and you try to bring it to the main module as much as possible here. And if you look on this one, right? If you look on this one here, you see it working on pseudocode here. You look on this one, you see that for this main module here, you have the 3 submodules. And when you go to the submodule, you see what is going on here. It's very simple with working the submodule here. So for this one, you have user authentication is okay for the main module here. What do you say? So in the user authentication, you call is the account detail. What is the account detail? I don't know. What is it? So actually for this one, you don't have to do it here. You just cut it here. You just do it at the beginning because you only have one here. All right. So account detail, what is, you see, you call the module from this one. And for this one, you call another module. And from this one, you call another module. And for this one, I think, yes, it a lot of layer in the calling function here. It slowed down the process here, and it's not really good programming for this one. It's very hard for the programmer to follow up what's going on with you here. All right. So for this one, you can have the main here. You have username and password, and username and password. What's the menu here? Okay. So you can have the menu here. Account detail. I don't need this one anymore. Account detail here. I cut it here. I bring it to the main module here. All right. delete it here. And the main module, you have, so for the menu here, you have the deposit, you have withdraw, you have balance, expiry, transfer, logout, and menu. You want to go back it here, right? You want to go back it here? I don't know, it's not good also. I don't like this kind of a program here. It's a recursive program. Actually, it's a slow down process here. And one more thing about this one, you have the balance inquiry here. What is it? Okay, that another problem with this program here. If you look on this one, you see the deposit here, right? So deposit again, you call the deposit. What is checking here? Okay, so here's the thing, right? Anytime we working with deposit, anytime working with withdraw, and anytime we working transfer, you always asking that which account we want to working with. It is a saving or checking here. So instead of doing it inside it of the module here, so why don't you asking outside for one time only? Right? Why don't you working outside for one time only here? You got my point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see now you checking here. Now for the withdraw also, you see you want checking or selection or saving here, and the transfer also. Why no transfer here? You don't have anything in transfer. Okay, so we see this is not good program at all. There's a lot of things you have to do with this one. It's too complicated, and it have a lot of calling function here. It's slow down process, and you have to work on that here. It's not good. So we see instead of this one, you have to check which selection you can work in checking or saving here. So try remember that. Don't make it too complicated. Try to make it as simple as possible here. Right? Don't make it too complicated here. Any question for this one?
So I noticed at the end, like right there, the last option, like it shoots them back to the beginning of the menu. Is that a good option?
This one?
Yeah, to like call back to like restart.
So actually, you can work in the loop here. You can work in the loop, right? You can work in the loop, and it will back it here every time. If you want, he want to do the exit, or he want to deposit or withdraw or balance inquiry here. This one recursive. It's work but I don't like this one. This one, you know that when working, it's slow down process here.
Okay, so put it at the end rather than the last option.
Yeah. So actually, in working with the final project, you have the 3 times. So you just loop it for 3 times here. Right? Just do 3 times here. So what happens is, see here, you have again, every time you go with again and again and again here. Right? So instead of that, you have a loop and you do it for 3 times or something like that. This one also the same. I think it's not good at all. You see in main module here. You see what happened with the main module. In the main module, you have to understand what is the overview of program here. So when you look on the main module, you have overview of the picture, what is going on with the program. You see that you need to do something with authentication, you need to do something with the selection, and you do something to do with the deposit or withdraw or transfer here. If you look on this program here, I have to keep guessing what's going on. Oh, log in here. Oh, log in here. So I have the account list here. I do again with the account list here, and account list here I have to do with the browse processing here. It's not good at all here. It's not good at all, believe me. And if you look on this one, oh, I don't save it. I think I have to save it here. No, not save it. Okay. Now number 4. Number 4 here, program, enter the username. Yes, good, right? This one. Okay, so you see this one is way better. Right? So actually this one you can make it simple by by add one more call function here is authentication, something like that. Right? And you put everything here. It's authentication here. Right? Oh, what is this? Sorry. Yes. So we see as this program here, you have something with welcome to program here, right? Now you initialize the saving account and checking account here. Good. Now, if you look on the memorial, you see the first thing you have to authentication, right? So after authentication, what you have to do? You do the selection here, and if do the D, you go to the deposit. If you go to W, you go to withdraw, and you go to the B, you go to balance inquiry, and you go to T, you go to the transfer here. Right? If you're not on this, sorry, you make the immediate selection here. Right? So, but one more thing about this one here. One thing about this one. What is it? So why do you want to log out and to why? Yes. What is it? You already have the log out here. Right? I don't know. This one, actually, I don't need this one. I don't need this one here. I don't know why you need to put it here. Okay, but anyways, this one it's way better, right? You see, if you look on the memorial, you see what is going on with this one here. And for balance inquiry here, you have you have the deposit here. He verifies that it's a number here, it's greater than 0 here, and deposit flow function here. It's good, right? Good. Now withdraw also, right? Withdraw here, here's number, withdraw 0, and here. Yes, you see that you cannot withdraw more than what you have, right? So he have the condition here is good, right? The condition here is good. Okay, so basically this one, okay. What's this one? This one is almost nothing. This mode is almost nothing here. Is what is the username or what is the password, and verify what is the cow here. You have no meaning of the cow, right? Actually, I don't know what. So every time it's not correct, the cow that increase to 1, and it have no benefit for this cow here.
Well, because this week, don't we have to allow it only to have 3 counts?
Yeah, but I'm working on the week number 4 here, number 5 here, right? So the cow here is have no meaning for this one. The cow here have no meaning for this one here, right? So you can tell Hieu that you enter the incorrect password or username. Please try again. It makes more sense, right? It makes more sense than the cow here. Okay, so enter 1 or checking or no, this is saving here. It's okay. Now, if one will checking here, right? Checking here actually is just working with the deposit. You don't have anything to do with the transfer or withdraw or balance checking or something like that. Right? And one more thing about this here, you get see all of them the same, right? So we insert that, we do it outside here. Right? Let's do it one more time. So make sure that you have to verify this one is the integer number here, positive integer number here. So for this one, I don't have much to say because almost nothing with this one. You don't have much work with this one. Any question from the progress report? Let me know.
No.
I think I need one more thing I had to tell. I see. What is it? What is it? Here, that one is not correct. If you want to verify, it is a number. And now let me see what is wrong with this one, right? Let me show you what's wrong with this one here. Brown here. Blue 1, 2, 3 here. So I want to, what's the one deposit, right? And I want to saving account here. Okay, so here's the thing here. In the case that if you want to verify, it is a number and it is what is it? I don't know. Hi. But in the case that if you want to verify, it is positive integer number here. The first step you will have to verify. The first step you have to verify it is in the number format first. For this case here, if you what happens if I enter the character here, you cannot do it. Right? Because the for function here cannot do anything with the character or string here. Right? So in order to do that, the order of the function here is very important here. Right? So you have to verify, you have to do this one first here to make sure it is in the number format. So when it's already number format here, you can compare it's greater than 0 or not, or you can compare it is integer or not, right? And remember this one is not correct here. This one, if you want to verify it's an integer number, you have to verify the deposit here greater than 0 and floor, right? You have a floor deposit here equal to deposit here. That's all. That is the correct way to do with the verify it's an integer number here. You got my point?
Yeah.
Yeah, the order of the function here very important. If you bring the floor first, you have no way to compare. You have no way to do the floor function with the character or string here. That's why the first step you have to verify it is in the number format first. After that, you can check it's greater than 0 or not, and you make sure it is in the integer here. Right? Any other question?
Nope.
I might be getting ahead of myself, but what's going to be the best option to add like multiple users? Is each user going to be able to call like each?
Yeah, good question. Good question. So in the case of multiple users, we will study about the arrays and the file on the module 7. So when we finish the module 7 here, you know how to working with the file and you know how working the array here. So in the case of array and the file, you can have a database. You can have database. So we have think about you have the database in the you have database here and you write out it's about here. That is his username and the blue 1, 2, 3 here is password and his 2500 here is the saving account and the 35 here it is a checking account and you have so many more, right? You just do it the same here. You just do it the same, say you just change the name here. I don't want to change it. So think about you have multiple users here. Think about that, right? So this is a file. So when working the module 7 here, you can access to the file and you read it, browse, you store it in the array here. You see that is a customer number 1, and you read this one here. You store it in the customer number 2. It is username here. So I will instruct you later on the chapter 7 here, and tell you how to working with the multiple user here.
Okay, so that's next week. We'll learn that.
Yes, next week. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I see. What is this week? This week is okay. Any other question for the final project? For the project here, let me know. Or any question for the homework also, let me know. And I don't think from now I don't want to correct the homework anymore because I see that some of you just waiting for when I correct the homework and you just do it exactly the same. It's not good one. I just make some of the guideline, you make some suggestion for you to do with the homework here. I will not do it for you anymore.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Any other question from you? Let me know.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so now for the chapter 6, you have more about loop and decision. So for the chapter 4, you learn everything about it. Actually, if you remember about, you have the 3 common structure, right? The first one is sequence here. Sequence, that means we do everything from in the order from the top, from the beginning to the end. You have the selection here. Selection, you break it down into the branches, or you can net selection together here. And the first one is repetition here. Repetition is the loop. You have the certain condition, and if correct, do it again and again and again here. Okay. Now in the chapter 6, you have more about the loop and selection. That means when you can net them together. Loop inside the loop, loop inside the selection, selection inside the loop, and selection inside selection. Selection inside selection, you repeat it with the net here. Right? Okay, so the first one, you can combine the loop with the if and then here. You can combine the loop with the selection here. So by the combining loop and decision structure, program can be much more complex here. And as the loop can be netted inside selection structure, and the selection also be netted in the loop here. Right? So we think you have the loop, you keep doing it, right? Keep doing it here. So inside the loop here, you break it down in the selection. Right? It correct, do something, not correct, do something here. And again, you can do the same with you can insert the loop inside the selection here. And also loop can be netted inside another loop, and you can use a multiple combination of this structure to allow for limited list possibility here. You totally flexible with the netted with the loop and the selection here. Okay. And the one way you can exit the loop early here. The one reason you can use to net a selection inside the loop is to allow the loop to end before the technical condition has been met for any region here. For example, if the user enters the incorrect value, so instead of keep doing it, so whenever it enters the incorrect value, if that exits the loop here. That is one way you can exit the loop early here. Or if the user enters the required response, and the program can continue without the further iteration here. You can take it here. So here's the example. You exit the loop early here. Exit the loop when there's no more money here. So for this one, you have to develop a program to allow the user to enter the maximum. That's the maximum amount of money, the budget here. I think about you have the budget of 100 bucks, right? Now he's able to spend and enter the cost of each item here, and user cannot buy more than 10 items. Right? That's the thing. You cannot buy more than 10 items here, or you cannot spend more than the maximum amount here. Right? You cannot spend more than what you have here. So program will bring out the number of brought item and total cost spent. And so for this one, the first step is analysis here. Right? So you have to need to maintain the loop. You have to. If you think about this, for this program here, you have to maintain the loop with a maximum of 10 iteration, because you cannot spend more, you cannot buy more than 10 items here, right? So for each iteration, for each of the iteration, it's one item here. Right? So for each iteration, you have to ask how much is it for this item here, right? For each iteration, you have to check. So every time if you spend for the new item here, you also have to check how much you already spend, right? How much you already spend, and you cannot spend more than what you have here, right? So for this one, if you look on this one here, what do you think? What is the condition to exit the loop here? If you look on this program, tell me what is the condition to exit the loop here?
Once the amount of money reaches to 0.
Anything else? Anything else?
Oh, when there are more than 10 items.
Yeah. So for this one, you have to use the combine. You have to combine you have to combine what is it? You have to combine the condition here, right? The first thing is that you cannot buy more than 10 items, and the second one that you cannot buy more than what you have is the budget here. Right? So actually, in order to exit the loop here, you have to use a combination of the two conditions here. Right? So try to do with this one with this raptor. Try to do this one with raptor here, and if you look on this one, you have the cost. The cost here is the cost of each item here, each item. So every time the loop do it, you enter the new cost here. And the total is what you have. It's a budget here. Right? Sorry, the total is what you're spending here. Spending here. So you see, at the beginning, you only have to set the total 0 here, right? So if you bought a new item, it's a 10, you add it to 10, and the second item is a 20, you add it to 20, you have the 30 here, right? The total here is only accumulate here. And remember, in order to do the sum, if you remember about when working with the sum, you always have to initialize the sum at the beginning is 0 here. So whenever you bought a new item, you just add it to the sum here. And so when you enter when you buy a new item here, you also have to maintain the count here. The count at the beginning also 0 or 1 here. And you cannot buy more than 10. That's why whenever you buy the new item, you just increase the count by 1. You see, increase the count by 1 here. So the condition to exit the loop here is that whenever the count greater than 10 or the total here greater than the budget here. The max here, so we enter the max, so we think about 100 here, and the total we cannot greater than 100 here. Okay, so now try to do this one with the router. Do this one with the router, and if you have any challenge, let me know. Okay, so have you finished it?
I'm almost done.
Mm-hmm. Just remember, you have to use the combined condition here to exit the loop. Whenever you have the total greater than the max, or when you have the count here greater than the 10 item here. Right? You have to use the combination on the condition to exit the loop here. So anyone done with us? Have we finished it?
Not yet.
Not yet.
So when working with a Raptor, you have to flexible with the Raptor. The Raptor is not the same when working with a pseudocode here. It's not the same. Just remember when working with the Raptor here, you have two conditions to exit the loop. Either the count greater than 10 or the total greater than the max here. Actually, in the Raptor, you cannot use the variable name max. It's not accepted. Somehow it's a function, so you have to use a budget or something like that. Okay, so for this one, right, you know, in order to do the total, you remember that everything I'm working with the sum, you only have to initialize the sum here. Right? So for the first one, you have to set the total here 0. Right, you have the total. Set a 0 here. Right. And the count also, right? The count also, you have the count. You can set it at the beginning. You can set the count 0 and 1 equal 1. Because the count increased by 1 whenever you bought a new item here. Okay. So now you have to maintain the loop, right? Because you allow to buy it for multiple times here. You are supposed to buy it for multiple times. That's why you always need the loop here. Okay. And in the loop, you know that in order to exit the loop here, you have to use the combination of the first one when you bought more than 10 items. The second one when you have the budget greater than when you have the total here greater than the budget here, right? So I think the first thing here is that you have to tell how much you have, right? How much you have here. Enter the maximum amount we want to spend here. That is your budget here, right? So it's outside the loop. Right, so outside the loop here.
I'm done now.
Yeah?
I'm
Okay.
done. Okay.
Who are you?
Mulia.
Okay, so let me give you the okay. Okay, you can share it. You can share to the class to see what is going on here. Okay.
Can you see my laptop?
Here's the thing. I have the first comment here. You should allow the user to enter how much you want to spend. Right? It's not only 100 here. It can be spent 1,000 or 2,000 or something like that. Right?
So maybe instead of setting the money to 100, I could just have an output here and say
input. Actually,
yeah, input.
Yeah. How much you want to spend, something like that. Huh?
And then money. So
delete it.
And total is when it or more or equal to money.
Yeah, good. I see the condition here, right? The condition here is greater than the total, greater than money we have, or the item greater than the 10, right? And every time if you bought a new item, you increase it by 1 here, right? So now can you go to the run and you check with the compile run here? No, on the run on the
run compile.
Yeah. Yeah. So to enter 100 here. Enter 100 you have.
What?
You enter the 100 you have, right?
Okay.
You want to spend for 100 here, 100 bucks. Okay. What is it? Why?
He has no money.
Why?
Wait, what?
What is it?
Oh, right, because because the total
how can
is equal to 100.
Can you click the run step by step run on yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is the run here, the play. Okay.
Okay.
So, okay. Now 100 here. Okay. Let's put the number 1 here. Number 1.
Oh, 1. Okay.
Okay. Number 2. Yeah, and keep going on. 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I know. What's your problem?
Wait, oh, right.
Yeah.
Just keeps going on.
You see that actually for this one, you have no output here. The output you have, only the output you have is you have no money left here. Right? You see, even that whenever you exit the loop, you always have the output, you have no money left here.
Yeah.
Right? So in that case, in this case here, again, you have to break it down. You have to, when you move to the end of the loop here, when you move to the end of the loop, you have to break it down in the case that you spend more than money you have. Right? The second one is that you spend more than 10 items here. Right? Okay, let me anyway, it is good using in the combination of the loop here. So for this one, right, you have the budget here. And you know that the condition to exit the loop is that whenever you have total, right, you have the total greater than or equal budget here, or count greater than 10 here. Okay. So you have to, for every time of the loop, right, you have to input here, right? And the price. Price here. Okay, so every time you enter the new price, you just add it up to the sum here, right? You have the total here. Total price. Okay, so we see, and remember that every time the count will increase by 1 here, right? In here, you can modify it later. You have to modify it later here. Okay, so here is the thing. You have 2 ways to exit the loop. The first one is when the total greater than the budget, right? When the total, I think you have to add it here, greater than the budget here. And when the count greater than 10, right? So now you break it down in the selection here. Selection here, so we see when total greater than budget here. All right. So we see in the case the total greater than budget, you just output here. You cannot spend more than, right? Okay, so in the case of the total greater than the budget here, you see what you have to do here. You have to add it back, right? So what is it? Right. So you have to minus for the what you already bought for the last one here, right? So yeah. So now we have the output. So you have total here. You have to minus it. Sorry, not the output here. The assignment here. You have to minus for the last item here. So now something like that. I have to modify it later. It's not corrected yet, and I believe I had to modify it here. Okay, so now see what happened here if I run it here. I have something about 100 here. I have the first one is number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so see, you bought a 10 item with a total of 55. It's correct, right? It's correct in the case that you already bought than more than 10 items here. So now what happened if I run is that I bought it more than what I have. So think of how the first one is 30 here. The second one is 40 here, 70 already, right? So now I have, what is it? All right, so you see, you only have the one item here. All right, so basically for this one, you have to put it here, plus 1 here. You always have to verify the output here. Right? You always have to think about all of the testing scenario here in order to have the correct output here. All right, so now see again what happened. Sorry, I have 100 here. All right, and the first item I have the 30 here. The second item I have the 40 here, only 70, right? Now I have the 40 here. What happened? Okay, so you see, I already have my total of 70. It's correct, but the 4 item here is not correct, right? So my mistake, I have modified it here. So actually count here is -1 here, because you cannot mark for the last one when you add it up. Run it again. I have 100 here. I bought the first item 30 here. The second, you have the 40 here, already 70, right? The last one I want to bought 40 more, it cannot, right? Cannot more here. And you see, you cannot spend more than what you have, and you bought the 2 items, it's a total of 70 here, right? It makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so we see in this one, you use a combination, right? You use a combination of the loop and the selection here. And you have the loop and the selection here. And in that one, you have the combination to exit the loop whenever the total greater than the budget or when the count greater than 10. Right? So that is the way of the exit the early of the loop here. You don't have to wait until the 10th time here. You don't wait until the 10th time. Whenever you have the total greater than the budget, you're also able to exit the loop here. Okay, and this one also, you have the guessing game with the do while loop here. So you have the secret number, you have a count, you have a guess integer, you have to enter the secret number here. You don't tell what is you don't tell the user what is the secret number here. Right? So we start in the secret number here. I think about you store in a secret here. You have the 100 here, something like that. You enter 100 here, right? So you set the count is equal to the number 1. At the beginning, you have the count number 1 here. So now ask the user, what is your guessing number, right? So keep guessing here. So the guessing here. So if the guess equal to secret number, you guess it, exit the loop here, right? And if not, keep doing it until the count here it's a less than 5, right? So whenever the count greater than 5, you exit the loop here. So for this one, it's the same. For this one, it's the same. You use a combination of the loop and the selection here. So the condition to exit the loop is the same. You have to use a combination of the whenever the guess equal to secret number or whenever the count greater than 5 here. Right? You have 2 ways to exit the loop here. Whenever the user gets the correct number and whenever he already gets it from more than 5 times here. So actually, it's quite the same with the last one here. Right? Okay, so you can use the combine of the loop, decision, and validate data here. Right? So we think about use this one here. The y response equals to y. It requires the validate data here. Right? You have to enter the number you have the number greater than 0, you have to set the root square here, because you know that the square here, when working with the square root, the number cannot be a negative number, right? So we have to validate here. You have to validate that this number you enter, it must be the positive number here. That is the valid data here, right? And you have the loop here. This is the loop here, and the condition to the loop. So whenever you enter the y, that means you can just keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, right? And you have the decision here because you break it down in 2 cases, right? So we break it down. So actually for this one, you have loop outside, right? So inside the loop, you have decision also. So decision here, you have to check the number greater than 0 or not. If not greater than 0, you do square root. If not, you print out that the number is invalid here, right? And for this one here, the loop, the condition to exit the loop is whenever the response here is not y, right? So it's y, keep doing it, it's not y, exit it here. So for this one, it have the combination of the loop, decision, and validating data here. And this one you are able to do with the Raptor. It's very simple, right? You think so? You think so? For this one, it's very simple. If you look on this one, you have the loop outside, and inside the loop you have the selection here, and in the selection you have the validated data here, right? So we can do with this one very simple here. Can delete this one. So you have a loop. Inside the loop, you have the selection. You have the selection inside the loop here. The loop here that you have the input here. You want to square root. Integer positive number, something like that. I think it's okay. And this one. Okay, so now you enter the positive number. That's when we want to validate. Sorry, not this one. This one here you want to validate, and this one I have to set the input here. I think you have to set the input here, right? The response here. Set is y at the beginning. Okay, so if it's a response, it's not y. Keep doing it, right? Keep doing it. So this one is where you validate the data here, right? So we have the number here. We have to make sure it's number greater than 0 or not. If the number greater than 0, you just print out what is square root, right? If not greater than 0, that you enter the invalid, right? And remember that every time you have to add ask the user here if you want to continue or not. I think I have to modify it here. Want to continue? Yes for continue. This one must be this one. This one is y. It actually says this one is no here. Yes, continue. Right? Okay, so that's the way working with this one. And you remember that you have to do with the square root here, and you have the output here. It's not correct, right? Something like that. Okay, so we see on this one here, you have the loop outside, and you have the selection inside the loop here.
Excuse me.
Yes.
So for response n, aren't you supposed to put like double equal sign on it for that?
Sorry?
Aren't you supposed to put double equal sign?
Right. Sorry. Thank you. So we have to use the comparison here. You have to use the double equal sign. Right? Okay. Now what else for this one? I don't want to go to detail here. So actually, you are totally flexible with the combination of the loop and the decision here and the valid data here. And you can combine the loop and decision in longer program. You can embed the larger program to check the variable type entry, use the college or enter the demographic information student, and here something. Okay. And here is example of keep track of the user input here. You have the positive count, negative count, and the number here, right? So you set the positive count 0 here, negative count is 0 here, and the condition here to keep doing it for multiple times, right? So whenever you enter the positive number and increase positive count by 1, and whenever you enter the negative number, you increase the positive count by 0 here. So that is a way working the how many positive numbers you have and how many negative numbers you have. So in the case, if you want to figure out how many here, you always have to initialize the counter here, right? So at the beginning here, you see, you always set it 0 at the beginning here. So whenever you enter the new number, you have to check if the number is negative, if the number is a positive, increase by 1 here. Right? If not, it's increased by the negative here. Right? So actually for this one, you have the loop. You have the loop, keep doing it for multiple times when the user enters the number. And the condition to exit the loop is when the user enters the number 0 here. Right? If not 0, you have the selection here. Check the condition. If the number is a positive, increase by the counter 1, and the negative increase the counter by 1 here. Okay, and after that, user print now how many positive number you have and how many negative number you have here. Okay, you think this you can do this one with the router, right? It's very simple, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you think that you have a challenge with this one, let me know. I can help you, but I think it's very simple here. Okay, so now we move to the length of function. The length of function is working everything with string format. String format here. So if we return you how many characters you have for the string here. So think about, you have the name here, right? So we have 1 character, you have 2, you have 3, and 4 here. So for this one, you return this one. Yeah, my length here, it returns this one to the number. Why is the number 17 here? No, I think it's 4 here, right? Sorry. Yes, the name here is the name here is a variable, right? So I have to do step by step here. Sorry about that. So here, the length of function will return the how many character you have, right? So we think about this one is string here. This one string here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For this one, return number 5 here, right? So now for this one also, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You return the 9 here, right? And in the case, you have variable here. The variable name, and you will assign the variable name is harmonion Hartfield here. So you can see the my length here is the length of name. Name here is the variable, right? And the variable here is string is this one. So it's a count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 here, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 here. That's why I have 17 here, right? Okay, so basically that return how many characters you have, right? You have the difference between the print statement and the new line indicator here. So you know that by basically for the right here. So when we have the right here, you see they will automatically break it down into the new line here, right? You have right, you have high here, you have whole here, and you have down here, right? But for the print, it's up to you, right? So if you don't break it down, if you use a print here, by the default, don't break it down to the new line. But if you want to break it down to the new line here, you have to put the new line indicator here. So we break it down. So you see for this one high here, and the second one low here, and you now break it down new line and have done here. And in the router, you also have some function to do that. If you're working with the printout here, where printout? Yes, this one. Okay, so you can choose option here. You can end the current line and move to the new line, or if you don't want to new line, you just unclick it here. Okay, so for this one, you asking what is your name, right? What's your name? And you set the name is the length of name. So if it's less than, you put your printout. You put printout here. It's not okay. So now we move to the random number. This one is you expect to have it in the homework, and you expect to have in the final exam also. Okay. The random numbers are numbers whose value from the unpredictable sequence, right? So any number, it can be any number here. And they have many interesting applications in program. And one major use to provide element of chance of computer game here. So we think about, you keep guessing what is the number here. And you just generate the random number, and you keep asking the user enter the number, and you compare the number with the generate number here and see they are the same or not, something like that, right? They also use to simulate the situation or process in the business, mathematical engineering. The random number is for the testing purpose, a lot of things, right? And you have the random function here. So basically, if you have random function, you have random function here. It will generate the random number, everything from 0 to 1, but not include to 1 here. So we can think it can be 0, can be 0.1, can be 0.17, can be 0.99, something like that, but never reaching to the 1 here. Right? So remember that for the random function here, the random function is generate every random number from 0.0 to 1.0, but not 1.0 here. Okay? So you have to remember that. But what happened here? Sometimes if you want to generate number, but it is an integer number here. So in that case, you have to use a combination of the int function or floor function here to generate the random integer number here. Right? So we think about if you have the random here, function is generate everything from 0 to 0.0 to 0.1, right? So it can be 0.1, can be 0.9, something like that. And if you want to convert it to the integer here, you can use a combination here. You can use the floor function or integer function here. But in the router, you have to use the floor here, right? So what do you think? If I put a floor and the random function here, what I have? What I have here? What do you think? If I have the random function inside the parentheses and I put the floor function outside, what will I have?
Whole values?
It's 0.
0.
What will I have here?
You get 0, right?
Yeah, 0, that's 0, right? Because you see, the random here generate everything from 0 to 0.0 to 0.1, but not include 0.1. So it's a floating number, right? It's a floating number. Every floating number from 0.0 to 1.0, but not included the 1.0 here. And now if you take the floor function, you round it down to the integer number. So when you round it down here, it brings you to the number 0 here, right? And if you use the ceiling function here and random here, it return you the number 1 here. Okay, so that is the first step if you want to using the random integer here. And now what happens if I want to generate any random number, not any random integer number here, not only the 0 here or 1 here. I can use the random function and a time with the number here. Right? So when you see, when I have random number and time 10, actually I generate every number from 0, right? From 0 to 2.0 to 10.0, but not include the 10 here. Right? So now if I take the function floor, before that, right? You take the function floor before that and time it to 10. Actually, I will generate every number from 0 to 9 here. You got my point?
Yeah.
Yes, that's all. All right. So now what do we think? If I want to generate a random number from what is it? I want to generate a random number from 0 to 10 here, to 20 here. What do you think? What I have to use with a combination of a random function and floor function here? If I want to generate a random number from 0 to 20.
You'd have to multiply the random function by 20.
Okay, so you think that should be the floor here? All right?
Yeah.
And random here?
And then the parentheses
20
and then
here,
times
right?
20.
Is that what you want?
Yeah.
But the thing here, if you're working with this one, it only generates a random number from 0 to 19 only. It never reaching the 20. Right? So in the case of the random function here, you have to tell how many numbers you want to generate. So from the 0 to 20 here, actually you have 21 numbers, not 20 here. You got my point?
Yeah, so you added one at the end.
So that's why if you want to generate number from the 0 to 20 here, actually you have to time it to 21 here. All right? The 21
okay.
Because, yeah, because when you round it down, it goes to the 20 here. Okay, that's the thing. So now what happened here? What happened? I want to generate from the random number from the 5 to 10. What do you think? What is the function I have to use? I want to generate random number integer, sorry, and random integer number from the 5 to 10 here. What I have to do? You have the combination here. All right. The first thing from the 5 to 10, you have to tell how many number you have. All right. How many number you have?
11.
No, from 5 to 10.
Oh,
from
5.
From 5 to 10 here. How many integer number you have?
5.
You get 5.
6. Actually 6. Yeah.
Oh, you include that one.
Yeah. When you take the 10 minus the 5, you only have to add 1 here. You have the 5, you have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have 6 here. So in that case, if you want to generate the random number of integer from the 5 to 10, you have to floor function random here times 6 here. This one will generate everything from the 0 to 5. And now if you want from the 5 to 10, you have to add to here, 5 here. So in order to do that, you have to use the function floor random times 6 plus 5 here. You got my point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened here? One more example here to make sure you understand how it works with the random function here. So if I want to generate the random number from the -5 to +10, what do you think? What's the function I have to use here? I want to generate the random integer number from the -5 to +10 here.
Well, -6 plus 16.
Why -6?
Because you're going back 6 places.
No, only 5 places. Right? So from the -5 to the +10, what do you think? How many numbers you have? From -5 to the +10, how many numbers you have?
16.
Yes, right. You take 10, you minus for the -5. So 10 here minus the -5. And you remember, you only have to add 1 here. So negative, actually you have 10 plus 5 plus 1, you have 16 here. Right? So in order to do that, you have the floor function here. You have random here. Time 16 here. Right? And the starting number here, -5, is that -5. That's all. That's the way you want to generate the random number from the -5 to 10 in the integer number here. You got my point?
Yeah.
You got it
Okay.
now.
Okay, so here is example. It's a flipping coin. Right? It's a flipping coin, and you know that the coin you have 2 sides. Right? You have two sides here. You have a head and tail. And when you think about the computer, you just think about 0 and 1 here. Right? 0 and 1 here. So that means that you have to generate the 2 random number, 0 and 1. Right? 0 and 1 here. So think about this one. If you're working with the floor function here, you see, you have the 2 number here, right? So it's a floor random times 2, and you have the 0 here, right? So that's why you use a function here, floor random times 2 here. So it generates 0 and 1 randomly here, right? So now think about this one. You working the loop, you want to flip the coin, enter Y for yes, enter no, and for no, and if yes, it's correct, right? Keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. So now for every time you generate the random number between 0 and 1, so if the number 1, you print out it's a head, if the number 0, it print out 0 tail here. That's all, right? And after that, you keep asking, you want to do it again or not, and keep doing it, right? Try to working with this one after here. Very simple with this one. Yeah, now do this one is after. Any question for this one?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
Sorry, could you, can I look at the pseudocode again for a second?
Let me see, what is it? Yes, this one?
Yeah, thank you. Right now, I'm done.
Okay. Can you share?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's all right. You can run it. You can run it by the compile.
Compile.
Yes. Yeah. Keep doing it for multiple times.
Sorry.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, so that's it. Very simple. For this is a very simple example here, right? So you know how to flipping on the random number. For this one, you flipping the coin here, and you winning the dice. That number should I bet on, right? So this is example that you roll the two dice at the same time, right? So every time you just sum it up together, right? You know that for every dice you have a number from the 1 to 6, right? So think about this one, you have the 1 for the first one and the 4 for the second one. You have 5 in the total here, right? So we see you can have a 1 4 4 1 2 3 and 3 2 here. It's a roll of 5, right? And in the 8 here you can have the 2 6 and 6 and 2 3 and 5 5 and 4 and 4 here. Okay, so for this one you just do it you just do it with the loop here, right? So for inside the loop you have the two random function here, right? The first one you have the first die is everything random from the 1 to 6, and the second one also from 1 to 6, and you just sum it up together, right? So think about you do it for 1,000 times, and you see how many times you got the number 5 and how many times you got the number 8 here. Okay. So this one also is very simple here. You see, if you want to do it 1,000 times here, right? So you set the die with number 1. You have a floor function from the 1 to 6, right? So you see from 1 to 6, you have the 6th number. And the starting number 1 here, that's why you have to add the number 1, right? The second one also, everything random function integer here from 1 to 6 here. And for every time, you just sum it up together, right? You have to sum it up together. And if the sum here is equal to 5, you increase the 5 count to 1. And if the sum here equal to 8, you just increase the 8 count here to 1. And after the 1,000 times here, you see how many times of sum you have. Sorry, how many times of sum is 5 you have, and how many times of sum is 8 you have. Okay. This one is very simple, so I don't want to do with this one. And now you have netted loop here. Netted loop is one loop is contained entirely within another word. You said it's a netted loop, right? You have the loop inside the loop here, right? And the larger loop, you have the outer loop. It's called the outer loop, and the one inside the inner loop here. I think about this one, and it's often difficult to follow the logical sequence of the step when the native loop are implemented, and it's very important to able to walk through here. You have to check the pseudocode with the paper and pencil and carefully writing down the value of each variable as a step here. Okay. So you think about, for this one, you see, if you look on the example here, that one is the example for you to understand how the netted loop work, and for you to walk through it to manually chasing down it here, right? So for this one, you see you have a 4 here. So when you have 4, you know that it's a loop, right? And you have another 4 here. So for this one, actually you have a 2 loop. This one is outer here, outer loop. And this one is the inner loop here. Okay, so how it works is outer loop and inner loop here. So normally it's starting with the counter. Yeah, it's starting with the counter at the beginning here, right? So when we're starting with the counter at the beginning, you have to do everything inside the inner loop, right? So when you're done with the inner loop, you come back to the outer. You come back to the outer and you increase the step here. So for this one, you increase it by 1, right? And you check the condition here. So basically, if you think about the netted loop, you just think about you working based on the column here, and you have the row here. Right? You have a row here. So we think about you have a column here. You have think about your row. You have number one, number 2, and number 3 for the row here, and the column you have number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 here. So how it works with the netted loop here? You think about, if you think about the outer loop, it's a row, and the inner loop is a column here. So when working with the first row here, that means the first iteration of the outer loop, you have to do everything inside the inner loop, inside the loop. So when we're done with when we're done with this one, you come back to the outer loop and you move to the next counter here. And again, you have to do everything inside the inner loop. Again, when you're done with that, you have to come back to the row. You do the outer loop here. Okay, so to make it simple with the inner loop, with the netted loop, you just think about when working with the row and the column here. And the thing about the row is everything about the outer loop, and the column here, you think about everything about the inner loop. And remember, starting with the first round, you have to do everything inside for the column here. When you finish the column, you come back to the outer loop and move to the next one, and do again from 1 to 5 to 6, and again move it to the 1 to 6 here. So now come back to this example, right? So come back to this example here. You can do the same. You can manually chase it down here. So how it works here? All right. So you see at the beginning, you have the outer cow with number 1 here. Right? You have got the out number 1, and you check the condition here. Number 1 is less than or equal 0, less than or equal 2 is correct, right? So now when you correct, you move to the inner of the loop. You move to the inner loop. You set the inner cow here at the beginning. See 1 here, outer. In here, inner here, right? So now in number 1, it's less than or equal to 3, right? It's correct, right? So it write down. It's a write down here. What's the counter? 1. What's the inner? 1. And you end for this one, right? So when you end for the inner, you increase it by 1 here. So now inner here, the number 2, right? The number 2 here, it do again for everything inside the inner loop here. Now the count here, number 2 here, right? Less than 3 is incorrect. Again, you print it out. 1 is outer here, and 3 for the inner here. And so see, when you're reaching to the 4 here, right? When you're reaching to the 4 here, the condition is not correct yet. So the condition is not correct. You have to go back to the outer loop. And in that case, you go back to the outer loop already increased by 1, right? So that's why you have the 2 here. And when you come back to the outer loop, you have to reset it. You have to reset it at the beginning of the new row here. That's why you have to start it from 1, 2, 3, 4 again here. Okay, what is this? Choose any symbol. Okay, this one's not a good one. Okay, so we can change down by the my game work here, work out here. If you see about this one, right? You have a see about this one. You have this one is outer loop here, and this one is inner loop here. Right? So if you okay, so what do you think? If you have the coding here, what do you think? What should be the output? What do you think? Can you manually chase it out or walk through it? Now you have X and Y, right? You always have X and Y here. X and Y here. Now, starting with the outer loop, you have the number 1 here. Right? Number 1, you compare the condition here. Correct, right? So it's correct. If move to everything inside it, you will have pass number here, pass the number X here, number 1 here, right? So now we move to everything inside the loop. You have Y starting with the 1. Right, correct condition here, right? So we have Z equal to the X here is 1, and Y is 1. That's why you have Z here, sorry. Y, and you have Z here also. All right, so Y is the beginning 1, and now you have Z, now number 2 here. Right? Now you do again inside the loop, right? So now you have Y here to Y plus 3. So the next Y is the 4 here. Remember the X here keep the same, right? The outer loop here keep the same here. That's why you have 4 and you have 5 here. Right? So now you do it again. You see the 4 here is less than 10. You do it one more time. So Y increased by 3. You have the 7 here. X thing 1 here. That's why you have 8 here. All right. So now Do one more time, increase by 3, you have the 10 here. 10 here is not less than 10, so you exit the inner loop, right? So in the case of exit the inner loop, you have to come back to the outer loop here. And remember, when you come back to the outer loop, you increase the exit by 1, that's why you have 2 here, all right? It's exit by 2. And now you're starting with the inner loop again, you have y start reset to the 1 here, y reset to the 1. So you have the z equal to 2, and 1 here, you have 3 here, right? And keep going on. You have 2, and you have 4, you have 6 here, and keep going on that. And you can try, you can work this one with the Raptor to see what is the output here. You can try it to work with this one and to see what is the Raptor here. And by working with this one, you know how to working with the netted looping. And remember one thing about when working with the netted loop, that thing about when working with the row and column here. The row and column here, you see, you have, what is it? What's my game number 1 here, right? So you just do it here. You have 2 loop here. You have 2 loop here. That's why you have loop inside the loop. You just do loop inside the loop here. Loop inside the loop, right? And at the beginning, you have at the beginning here, you have the x equal 1 and y equal 1 here, right? So you have, okay, so what do you think? What is the condition to exit the outer loop? You think about the outer loop here. What is the condition to exit the outer loop?
If x equals 4, or
yes, x equal to 4, right? When x equal to 4, you exit the loop. So inside the outer loop here, you have to pass number here, right? You have to output here. This one. Okay, so now inside the inner loop, what is the condition? What is the condition to exit loop here? What do you think? Y equal to 10, right? You see the condition here inside the inner loop here, and of course you know that for every time if the inner loop here, you have to start starting with the y equal to 1 here. That's the thing you have to remember when working with the loop here. Right? So when you exit the inner loop here, you come back, you have to set the y here 1, right? Every time you starting with an outer loop here, you have to reset the y to number 1 here. So we have this one here. You got my point? You see, when you have the outer loop here, right? So we do everything from 1 and until the 10. But when we come back to the outer loop here, again, you have to do the y back to the 1 here, right? So that's why you, for every time, is when you're starting from the outer loop here, you have so set the x here, y here, come back to 1 here. All right. So now inside the loop, what you have to do? You have the z equal to the x plus y here, right? You have z x plus y here. And you just write x, y, and z. Okay, so now inside the loop, what happened here? So every iteration of the loop, what do you think? Is it the one is inside loop here? What happened if you have the inside the loop? Every inside the loop, you have to increase the y by 3 here, right? You have to, every iteration of the loop, you have to increase the, yes, you have to increase, you have the y equal to y plus 3. That is the inside loop. So what happened about the outside loop here? What happened about the outside loop? You see that this one is inside the loop here. This one inside the loop, and this one, where's the outside loop here? What do you think?
It just adds one at a time.
So here, so you have this one here, this one here, the outside loop here, right? So when we enter the, when we exit the inner loop, you just enter, increase x by 1 here. Okay. So you see, this one's the outer loop, right? The condition to exit the loop is when the x greater than 4, and every time it increases by 1. That's why I put it increase by 1 here. This one is outer loop, right? You see this one outer loop here. You see everything here is in the loop, right? And from here, they are outside loop. So we see for the outer loop, the condition here, whenever x equal to 4, it exits the loop. And if not, you just increase x by 1 for every time of the iteration. Right? So for the inside loop here, for the inside loop, you see at the beginning you have the y equal to the 1 here. Right? So the condition here is the y equal to 10, you exit the loop, and inside the loop, every time you increase the y by 3 here. Let's see what you have. Okay, so we see here. Oh, I think what? Yeah, I think you have to put it outside. Put it outside here. Where is the pass number? How to correct it? We have to see. Oh, I see. So I have to put it here. Yeah. Okay, so we see at the beginning, this is outer loop here, right? So the x is always number 1, and for inner loop, every time the y increase by 3, and when reaching the 10, it exit, right? So when we exit here, what happened? You increase the outer loop by 1. That's why you have 2 here, and you have to reset the inner loop to 1 again. That's why you have 1, 4, 7 again, right? So now it come back to when we exit here again. You have to increase the x here to 1. That's why you have 3 here, and you have to reset the y to 1 here. You have 1, 4, 3 here. Okay, that's all. That's working with this one here. So I hope that with working with this one, you will understand. You understand more how to work in netted loop here.
What did you put at the end of pass number plus x? What was that symbol?
What's this? This one?
Yeah.
No, this one is the last time I said unclick it here. So when you unclick it, every time it's print out on the same line here. But if you work in this one, it print out on the different line here. That's all. Okay. Any question for this one?
No.
So just remember, when working with the netted loop, is from my experience here. You just think about when working with the 2-dimensional magic here. You have the row and you have column here, and you think about the row, everything is out the loop, and the column, everything is in a loop. So you always have starting with the first row. So in the case of first row, you have to do everything with the column. So when we're done with the column, you move to the next row here. You move to the next row here, and you increase the outer counter by 1. And again, when you increase the counter outer counter by 1, you have to reset the inner counter to the beginning here. Right? That's why you see, whenever I starting with the new iteration of the outer loop, I had to set it to number 1 here. Right? What happened here? If I don't set it number 1, you see what will happen here. It keep it increasing here. Right? Oh, sorry, I put the number 1 outside here. Let me put up number 1 outside here. Okay, so that's why you see you only increase for the first iteration, you increase by 10, right? So that's why for the second iteration, you have no way to run it because you only get the 10. That's why for every time you have to reset it to number 1 here for the new outer loop here. Right? That's the thing you have to remember. Right? When we're done with the inner loop, you have to reset it to the beginning of the next counter here. Any question for this one?
Nope. No.
Okay, so here's the same. You can manually chase down. You can manually chase down here if you want. So basically, that's all for the lecture of this week. Let me see what you have for this one. Okay, so we have the homework, you have checkpoint, you have quiz, and you have the progress report. So if you don't have any question, we can end the class now and see you guys on Wednesday. And here's my suggestion: you try to work with the homework at home from now to the Wednesday. On Wednesday, I will give you some guideline to working with the homework, to working with the progress report, to working with the checkpoint here. But this time I cannot do it for you. I want to give you some time to work it by yourself. Otherwise, yes.
I do have one question, and I apologize that I wasn't able to get to it sooner with my issue with the textbooks and all. But that first checkpoint that was doing module 5, it said you needed a draft. Was that draft supposed to be like a Word document or a flow chart or a Raptor program, or what was that supposed to be?
Which one?
The one that was in module 5 that was due a couple days ago while I was trying to get that textbook issue.
This one?
That one.
That one, actually, I told you on the class for multiple times here. You have to work
on I apologize for that.
You have to work on the weekly basic here. You cannot wait until the data. So actually, you have to starting from the week number 3 already. You have to do from the week number 3, number 4, and now number 5, and you have to working on the progressively. Right? So for this one, yeah, for this one, you see, for this one, for this report, you only need to do with the Raptor here. But on the final exam, you see on the final, when working the final project here, sorry, final project here. And you see also, right, in the final project submission includes the following. The first one, you need the Raptor program. Right? The second one, you need the Word document content analysis here. We think about what is the analysis, what is the design, what is the starting, what is the coding, and what's starting here. Right? And so we have to use the credit diagram. That is the final project. But for this week here, you just need to submit the Raptor here. Okay.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You have to work. You have starting from the week number 3, not right now, not until now.
Yeah. Thanks again for your help.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. No problem.
Any other question? Let me know. And if not question, please take my suggestion that try your best to working with your homework. And if you have any question, raise to me on the Wednesday here. on Thursday. Sorry.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Have a good one.
Okay.
Bye bye.